For those who wish to speak on an agenda or non-agenda item, please use the sign-up sheet near the entrance to the council chambers. You will be called to speak during the public comment section. Comments or testimony on agenda items listed under public hearing, public comment will be taken at that time. Roll call, please.
Don Williams.
Here.
Dick Anderson.
Here.
Riley Hoagland.
Here.
Deanna Hinton. Here. Judy Casper. Here. Susan Walke. Here. And Kip Ward.
Here.
We have two items we need to change on the agenda. I believe we need to remove the minutes of the meeting as they were not finished, and to add an item, any actions, if any, based on executive session. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to amend the agenda to add, to change, make two changes. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. There's also one thing I would like to follow up from our last meeting. We, at that time, elected Judy Casper as vice chair, and I want to state that she's accepted that election. Comments from citizens present, I see none. Special order of business presentations. Ms. Robertson and Mr. Chandler, thank you.
So I have the great pleasure of doing the intro and then letting Allison do all the heavy lifting. It kind of really works out well that way. As you're aware, the Urban Renewal Agency is coming up to its last bond issue, which will be about $3 million. We are proposing, we put together a time schedule with the idea that that issuance would take place on or around June 1st, so that by the end of this fiscal year, we'd pay off the final payment of the existing bond. One of the conditions that you have on the urban renewal is that you have to have debt in order to continue to operate. If there's a time period in which there is no debt, then the ability of the Urban Renewal Agency to continue their project ceases. So we're timing this based on that premise, so that by June 1st we issue this bond. By June 30th we pay off the previous one. What is required of you, the Urban Renewal Agency Board, is to decide upon the types of projects that you would like. As always, there is a lot more projects than you will have money to spend. The bond amount that we will be issuing will be about $3 million. We've given to you the list of the projects that have been approved in the past as part of the Urban Renewal Development Plan and are eligible for Urban Renewal Development monies. In order to make this a little bit easier, in order to make this a little bit easier and based on our previous conversations, Allison and I have divided these up into 4 categories. If you recall, before we were talking to you about how they fit into the type of bond you can issue, what is the definition of blight, and so forth. To make it a little bit easier, we've tried to create these categories and then put the different projects into those categories. So in other words, the first category that we've highlighted is utility undergrounding projects, of which there are 5 in the total project. So if you wanted to say we wanted to spend the final $3 million on utility undergrounding projects, then there are 5 that you can work from. The second is rehabilitating properties, and that includes rehabilitation for economic development, rehabilitation for aesthetics, rehabilitation for workforce housing, and property rehabilitation itself. The third is above-ground public improvements. That would be streets, sidewalks, parks, parking lots. Think of infrastructure above the ground. And then the fourth is the below-ground public improvements. Think of infrastructure below the ground, storm drain, water, sanitary, sewer. So the area where we wanted to begin the discussion is that if you were to come to a conclusion that one of these four areas is where you want to spend the $3 million, and only in one of those areas, or only in two of those areas, if you narrow it down to that point, then we can begin working on just the specific projects that are identified in those areas. Allison's prepared to give you information about any of our current projects and any of these that are before you tonight.
So I'm just going to rewind a little bit and start with a mention of the mission statement for the urban renewal area. It covers about 18% of the city. It's was set up to eliminate blight and depreciating property values. This is the formal definition from 1988. Generate job-producing private investments and utilize tax increment financing to encourage private investment. And here's a list of our goals and objectives. Enhance opportunities for business and tourist-related property development, improve visual quality, encourage expansion and development of businesses resulting in jobs, increase property values, leverage underground overhead utilities, install pedestrian amenities, different things like that. We also have the 27 years of urban renewal report. It's online, and I've also got copies in the office if anyone's interested. I know many of you have it already, but if you need a copy, I'm happy to provide one. And getting to the lists. When we gave you this list last year, it was one long list, and we all put our heads together and tried to simplify it and put it into these categories that made a little more sense. So the first list is the budgeted and underway list. And so I'll just give a quick summary on that list. There are different color categories, and the green projects are budgeted and underway. And then actually all of the green ones are, except that the dark green are actually like done or close to being done. So of those projects, we have Northwest 50th Street Lift Station construction, and that's urban renewal funded, but Public Works is doing that project. And Cutler Sidewalk section in Cutler City between 62nd and 63rd, that's going to be an in-house design, and then we will pay for construction. The Baywalk Sidewalk design and construction, that's also underway, that it will connect our highway turnout to the Schooner Creek Bridge turnout that's there to the south of the bridge. We have the Jetty Avenue realignment, the Eagles parking lot, district sign. This is the last of the neighborhood signs that we'll be installing in Nelscott. The glass foundry, we have some funds that are budgeted for the glass foundry to basically just repair the siding that's on the west side of the building that is very much degraded. That's a capital improvement. And then D-Lake School capital grants, we also have that budgeted. Schooner Point turnout construction, and then we've contributed $12,000 towards the planning department's comprehensive plan update. So those are all of our budgeted projects in capital. And I'll just quickly scroll through. So here's the 50th pump station. Here's the section of sidewalk in Cutler City. This is one rendering of what the Baywalk Sidewalk project would look like. This would connect the two turnouts that are south of the Schooner Creek Bridge. This shows the Jetty realignment project. So right now it's at a 45-degree angle to the highway, and it's one way going into the Cutler neighborhood. We would make it teed up to the highway, and it would become a two-way street. This is a picture from the Nelscott Community Vision Plan of one idea of how the Eagles parking lot could be used. This is a kind of an artist or farmer's market, and we've talked about this since 2006, and we have money in the budget. We've just been waiting to see if it's something that's of interest to them and would the community would support. And if so, we would have some funds available to help pave and restripe it, assuming that they would be willing to share it for public use. This is a picture of the neighborhood sign. the Glass Foundry, you know that, and City Lake School. And then this is one rendering of the Schooner Point turnout. And then we also have our economic development toolbox. As you're all well aware, we have the facade improvement loan program, energy efficiency loan. Those are both 0% interest for property owners to borrow up to $75,000 and $150,000. And then we also have a business expansion loan, which has an interest rate of 0 to 2%, so very market competitive. We haven't had any takers on the business expansion loan, but it is a tool that we have available for people. We also have the local program support grant. This is, we've done 4 years of funding for applications for the Small Business Development Center, and they have done classes and trainings for business owners located in the district. And we also funded a little portion towards the buy local of Lincoln County, and so they could get kind of up and running a little bit better in Lincoln County, in North Lincoln County. And then we also have our Downtown Manager tool, which funds a 2-year pilot program for part-time downtown manager for the Bay Area Merchants Association. So those are the tools that we have now that we are using and have available. And then I'm sure you noticed, I think it's number 45. That's one of our projects, and it says Economic Development Toolbox options, and there are many more. The toolbox is also attached in your packet. Let's see, so projected, these are the 2 projects that we have assumed will go forward unless you say otherwise. And this one is the Cutler Jetty Realignment construction. So right now we're in design, and we anticipated that we would move this to construction. We have a very rough estimate cost of $250,000, and so that is kind of what we have talked about in our last several budget cycles as one of those projects. The second project that we project would go forward is the D-Lake Utility Undergrounding, and this project is estimated at about $2.2 million. And so that project we obviously have not moved forward because we haven't had our last bond to do it. Now, both of these projects are projects that you don't have to do. We don't have any contracts for them. The only things are that there's already been design completed on both of them, so that would be shelved for however long until the projects would get built, if they would get built. And that's all I've got for the presentation. I'm happy to kind of walk through a few things if you'd like, or to help navigate the lists, or if you feel pretty comfortable with them, I can just start taking questions.
Madam Chair?
Way down. The wish of council. Yes, Ms. Hinton.
This list is long, and it was hard to, I was trying to put numbers next to the most important ones. But one came to mind that isn't on the list, and I don't know if that's appropriate to even bring it up. But we were, well, before my time on City Council and the Urban Renewal Agency, talking a lot about parking and how that affects practically everything in the city. And so I was thinking this might be an opportunity, maybe not, but to do a 2 or 3 level parking garage in Ocean Lake.
So parking lots are on the list, and they're just, it's not an easy plan to get through, because sometimes it says you can build a parking lot here specifically, or you can build a parking lot anywhere. So let's take a look at the parking lot projects, which are number 37 and 72. So number 37 is specific, so that one is to make modifications to the Nelscott parking lot that's southwest 32nd Street. And we've estimated that to be about $200,000, and this is on a recently discussed project list. So we have talked about this within the last year. And then 72. So this one has to do with off-street parking, and this is in our plan, so our lovely 3 a.m. reading material plan. And basically says landscape median strip or left turn lane requiring replacement of 1,666 parking spaces, as well as an additional 1,147 spaces to serve retail, office, service, commercial, and beach access. So this one actually would be the one to respond to your question about building some parking in Ocean Lake. So that is something that we could do as long as it's located in the district, and it does fall within the 1988 plan. So we have the ability to do a project like that. I don't know what it would cost. We've never built anything more than surface parking. So the Lincoln City Outlet Mall would be the closest, I think, to building a kind of a tiered parking, and I think that was done a number of years ago. So I don't have any ballpark estimates on what that would be.
Okay, because I thought we could incorporate other things like some artwork on it and maybe have it be a place for events and a lot of different reasons.
Mr. Ward, did you have questions?
Yeah, one trick pony here. I don't, in this, I see things that are related to blight, but I don't see really a commitment to seek and destroy. And I know that you put a lot of your personal time in that in the last few weeks. And my personal opinion is, you know, you take the Cutler City Jetty thing, and it's not a, I'm not sure of the good that does. I mean, not that it doesn't, but I mean, if we put that same money into eliminating some of the eyesores that we have in this town, if we ever want to raise our prices and be able to prosper as a community, that visual blight is something I think that's long past due, and it's a benefit for both the citizens and the businesses. So that's my push for an aggressive blight abatement, and followed with enforcing our current ordinances, which are quite stiff regarding that. So I'm done.
Yeah, with blight, I'm sure you saw the blight memo that was in the packet as well. Blight can be defined in any number of ways. So visually unattractive is what we went with, and that did include anything above ground that, like you mentioned, the Schooner Point Turnout Project. It's unimproved. It doesn't look very well kept. It's not very welcoming. So an improvement there would be an improvement. However, if it's something specific like to buildings or you know, the overhead utility lines, that's also, many people would call that blight. It really, there's a lot of flexibility about how to address blight. It just depends on how specific you want to get.
Well, you know, my philosophy on it is we're getting into the summer season, and, you know, it's the same as you have at home, companies coming, you know. We need to treat our town like companies coming. And I would just like to see more of a comprehensive plan of how to get from where we are now to how to, where we'd like to be. Also on those, we got an interesting on the manager's report. It was TRT revenue that was for, let's see, Bend, Seaside, help me out here.
Cannon Beach.
Cannon Beach.
The city, Lincoln City's
Newport.
in Newport, yes.
And analyzing those graphs, it was interesting to see, and really, I think there's some more work that needs to be done on those. City, for example, Cannon Beach has less than a quarter of the population that Lincoln City, yet it has half as much TRT tax revenue. The reason for that, I don't know, but it could be that their places are nicer and they can get higher rents for them, and the town's beautiful.
Counselor, the thing that I think you're looking at on this one, as Allison said, blight covers a lot of things, but I think the group that you're specifically looking at is under the property rehabilitation. And as it pertains to property that's private property, of which we would help as we have done in the past, it would be that group that deals with the toolbox items. Okay, the loans, the grants, and so forth that are contained in that. So if that's an area of focus that you really want to do, to focus in on helping businesses to upgrade their property, that's the area where you're going to go. And this is also the reason why, instead of trying to go by what is the definition of blight, we looked instead to go by undergrounding utilities, property rehabilitation, infrastructure above and below ground. So it makes it so we don't have to get into a discussion on what is blight and what is not. If you give us the sense of where you want to go, if you want to work on property rehabilitation and that is associated with helping businesses, then we will know exactly which one of these projects that we want, that would qualify under that.
Or projects maybe that aren't on here, right?
That's the area, for example, in the toolbox. It's in all of the toolbox, the only limitation that you have for helping businesses is that they have to be within the district. And so it gives you a lot of latitude on the properties that would qualify for the toolbox options.
I was just going to say, I think that's a great idea, but where are they going to park?
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Two of the things that I think have a great opportunity to do and that have been really important, I think, for a lot of people is the workforce housing and a teen center. And we have the fourth floor upstairs, and that could be something that could be converted or retrofitted to be a teen center. I know I had talked about it being a homeless or homeless outreach thing, but it could also be something for a teen center and a way that they can gain skills for life and things like that, and have an area that is designated and maybe being part of the community center, having that tie in with the community center so that it's they can manage that as well or something like that. And I don't remember exactly the map of the urban renewal map, but if there is areas in which we could put affordable housing, workforce housing, and I don't know our definition of that, what percentage of the median income, but it could be, park models or things like that, something that's very small, and we can get a lot of houses in. The most, we want to get the most amount of houses in to the, to the most dense application where it's a house. I know we have apartments and we've had two come up, but something that maybe is a little bit better, and that the land trust or things like that. I don't know how the URA interacts with that, but if that's something that could be brought up and we have the opportunity, I mean, yes, undergrounding D-Lake would be fantastic and beautiful, and the pictures would be great, and and there's a lot of lines there, but that's almost all of that $3 million, and so could we do more things with that money? I think that's maybe for me something that I would feel more comfortable with. The needs of the city. I mean, do we need to do that? Is that real? Is that blight? I would argue against that.
Madam Chair. Allison, am I to assume that the only funds we're talking about before we go on our shopping trip here is close to $3 million? There's no carryover under budget money hidden in the sock drawer from existing projects that would spill?
Yes, so the construction fund, with our year-end estimates for this current year, the construction fund will have about $500,000 remaining. So it's just under $3.5 million.
And then, Madam Chair, when we talk about the toolbox and the things that could commandeer or assist in blight and private properties, are those fully funded or funded at a respectable level? Or if we're going to attack that area, would it be wise to mentally think those should have some higher funding dollars in their buckets?
Yeah, so for the facade improvement loan program, which is the main loan program that we've had for a long time, we've had loans pay off and then go back out again. we get about 50,000 or so a year in payback. So if someone comes in and requests a $50,000 loan, we can do that in 1 year. If someone wants more than that, they have to wait until there's more funding available.
Because our limit's 75,000, isn't it, per loan?
It's up to 150 for
100.
facade improvement. And that's because you can do 2 75s, and we realized that it was quite an inconvenience and had 2 loan processing fees for people. So it was a better value for those who were wanting to do a more robust improvement to just do it in 1 loan. So I don't have that figure, but I can get it.
But in essence, we get about 50,000 a year back in order to refund.
Right.
So we have, to go with Councilor Ward and Blight, and that's a tool certainly that used. It sounds to me like that would definitely be an area that we'd want to put some funds into to rather than wait for repayment. But so then the other thing I would throw to the agency members, last week we had a work session. You all heard Ed talk about VCB and all his plans and all the good things that it was doing. And especially remind you of the D. Wayside and his hopes and plans and negotiations in that arena. And I think his terms and wording was that's when the public, the guests, first see the ocean, and they're driven to come west, young man, to see the ocean. We have down here in Brown the projects that we've talked about and spent some money, some undergrounding for the D. Wayside. That's roughly from Subway Sandwiches north to not 6th, 2nd, whatever.
South, maybe about the Adventure Way.
No, north. But I mean, the idea was to take down those wires on east and west. And all you have to do is look to Ocean Lake and Taft to see the benefits of no wires. So imagine, again, coming around the corner as you're finally coming west to the ocean, and you see it without wires. So to me, that project hits a lot of buttons of economic development, blight, just pure courtesy. And that's why it's been on that. And again, remember his plans talking about, that turning it more than just a parking lot into a much more welcoming place. So if you're talking about long-term impact, and, a real base, to me, that's a natural. So given that, then, you're talking roughly 350,000, to put another 150, 200 into facade, and you're, only got, 150,000 or so to squirrel away. That's my pitch.
Any other comments?
Allison, you were talking about, I think Dick was asking about, do you have any money, additional monies in there? And, but you're talking about $50,000 a year revenue coming in. You should have capital that's generating that revenue. So do we have an asset there? Is it just money in the bank, loans in the bank? How much do we have outstanding in that?
I don't know exactly how much we have outstanding. We've loaned out about 1.8 million
Okay.
in
That's
the
what- that's what I
last
meant.
12 years. But I don't have a figure right now on the total that's out for us to be, we've had a lot of loans. Let's see, I think it was 2000, I can look, in the Economic Development Toolbox, we, let's see, it was 2012 that the energy efficiency tool was made available. So it was around that time that we had most of our loans for that first lending in 2000 pay off. And so we had several that were paid off at that time, so we had kind of an influx of funds, which is why we talked about what other tools can we do. This is a great program, it's revolving, so it's always bringing money back in. And so it will be something that the city can continue to use beyond urban renewal. So how can we, what other opportunities do we have to help businesses? And so that's why the other programs came out. Most of those funds, though, are now back out. So I don't have a total, but I can get one for you.
No, I was just wondering if that asset had been included in the $3.5 million.
No, it has not.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Casper?
I think we should give some real serious consideration to some things that we can benefit from as the public. And I think a real need would be the kids' park in Taft need a restroom. And I really think it's important to consider residents and tourists for the beacon crosswalks, which I think would be a safety measure as well. But I think if we can do small things that don't cost a fortune for people who live here in the parks area and children specifically, I think that would be a wise investment in our future.
I appreciate this list of which projects are in which category. You did list water projects, and there's no numbers associated with that. Am I to interpret that there were no water projects?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to address issues that Public Works feels has some priority. If they don't have urban renewal funds, are there other funds that would be able to finance these projects?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
The answer is no, unless it was to come through its own rate structure or through another type of debt.
Thank you. I have had my heart set on undergrounding at Dee River Wayside for years and years. It's really hard for me to choose between things that need to be done and one big project that will make a big difference.
Madam Chair, just to help with the thinking, if I can, because Councilor Casper raised an issue for me that I think ought to be a good reminder of us all, is these are not general fund dollars. I mean, this isn't a pot of money to just create this huge list of everybody's care and come up. The intent and the promise, and I'm taking liberties now, was when an urban renewal agency is formed, we go to the other taxing entities and ask them to give up their dollars. The base assessment is frozen, and then they give up any kind of growth until we get done. So it's a promise that what we will spend the money on, their money on, will raise the assessed values more than if they just sat there, the 3%. So, you know, and Judy hit it, I'm a big fan for cleaning up our restrooms and the public entity, and certainly safety and all that, but I think we have to be real careful about pushing these dollars. You know, we have city tax dollars, general fund, other things to do, but these dollars are intended to raise the bar more than your standard 3% assessed value increase. So that means, and I think that's where Councilor Ward was going, was trying, if you get rid of blight, feels better, business benefits, people make improvements to their properties, assessed values go up, new construction comes in,
Wages go up.
everything goes up. So you know, and not to be critical, because I too like clean restrooms and parks and safe crossings, but to me, that's a city objective, you know, not an urban renewal. My 2 cents.
Madam Chair, if I could, I have a question. We had a question I have an answer to. The balance of the receivables we have for the loans as of June 30th is $407,998. Now, it's important to note that Allison had mentioned that we have loaned out $1.8 million. That $1.8 million includes money that has been paid back. Okay, so it's not the original amount of $1.8 million, and we spent difference between $408,000 and $1.8 million. It's as money has gone out, we have loaned it out again, and so the amount again that is currently owed to us is $408,000, $407,998 to be precise.
You know, back when, okay. I think I've shared this with you before. Back in the 80s, when the Urban Renewal District was being fantasized, Mayor Sim at the time, Alice, had hired someone to show what Lincoln City would look like without wires, you know, going every which way. And also with, it's not me, is it? No. Anyway, also they did it without signs every which way. At that time, I think Little Sambo's had like 50 signs, and it showed what the vision that at least the people were there was a town without wires, without giant signs everywhere, and without blight. And you know, interesting. We all had kind of a common vision, at least we thought we did, of what blight was, and there's different definitions. But was really, you know, after 30 years, it still stuck with me. What a pretty town that we had with those nuisances gone. And when this started again, I was thinking, oh boy, we're going to be all undergrounded. Won't that be wonderful? And we haven't been. But so anyway, just to give some history to my memory.
Madam Chair, if I might add, one advantage of the loan program, the Toolbox loan program, is that the dollar has a multiplying effect. It's not something that we have spent and then it's gone. It gets repaid and then that dollar gets loaned out again, and it gets repaid and then it gets loaned out again. So it does have a multiplier effect that a project where we are doing some infrastructure or something else would not. It would be a one-time expenditure.
One more and I'll shut up. You know, it would be nice, and not that they're not, but it would be really helpful if urban renewal was tight with the VCB to work on projects together, you know, because we all have that common goal at the end. It doesn't add no good to get the people here if, but they don't like what they see when they come.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I might run through my list again, revising it somewhat. I can't find the number for undergrounding.
Fort D Lake?
14.
Okay. Number 14, underground. Number 22, teen center, which was on my original list before you said it. Number 27, traffic signal, and number 51, a rapid flashing beacon. Number 31, garbage cans. Number 40, kids park restroom, and number 72, a parking garage. I probably spent the money twice. And I'd also like to say that wherever we could leverage these dollars, like with the TRT money or, you know, other city money, that would be, or even ODOT money, that'd be great.
TRT money can be used for street improvements, correct?
You can.
Percentage.
A percentage of it.
Right, right, but we can use some TRT money for those. And our sidewalks, streets for TRT purposes?
Yes, for TRT purposes, you're looking at 1 foot behind curb, or behind sidewalk to 1 foot behind sidewalk.
Can you
So
explain that?
including the
Yeah.
sidewalk.
Yeah,
street and
normally when you're
sidewalk.
looking at a right-of-way, you've got the asphalt, curb gutter, sidewalk, and then an easement that goes beyond it. So I'm looking
Yeah.
at it from the easement to easement.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr.
can you explain the various funding mechanisms to underground D-Lake? What are the possible ways to pay for it? Obviously, the URA, and what else?
Beyond the URA, you could do that expenditure as part of your general fund expenditure. I don't know that you could fit any of your enterprise funds, such as water, sewer, or storm drain type of projects, but you could do that through your general fund. And your two main sources of revenue in your general fund are property taxes, which constitutes about 35%, and transient room tax. Transient room tax has some limitations on it. We use the portion that can go to streets. Much of that is used in both the operations of the street budget plus the capital.
So, Madam Chair, what's the best way to bring this to a head? Are you looking to just get a wish list from each counselor, or what?
Are you looking for a?
Well,
direction?
ultimately, what you need to do is decide on one or more projects that will use those funds. So you may not be ready tonight. If there are categories of these that you can eliminate, that might make it easier to narrow them down. But ultimately, you do have to decide upon one or more projects that comes out to about $3.5 million.
I think we all need some time to think. I personally would like to see things that people, to use this money for things that people can see. Infrastructure is great and it's necessary, and we've put a lot of money into it over the last 27 years. And I think there's some frustration from people that they don't see what's being done. The utility undergrounding is something to see. It's under, but there will be a definite visual difference. Anybody opposed to putting off decisions till next meeting?
Can I have one question? It's a little non sequitur, but on the undergrounding at the D Riverway side, and so it's within a certain range, north and south in there. Didn't we on the last undergrounding get some participation from businesses as well that wanted to get power? That wanted to work with the city on extending that undergrounding? I thought we did.
I think, so both of our other undergrounding projects have been with more comprehensive street improvements. This one would just be undergrounding. We would not be doing any improvements to the street. So the participation from private sector may have been to help build the sidewalk. There could have been deferred improvement agreements or something like that. I know with Taft, and I believe also with Ocean Lake, we had ODOT funding. We were on the highway doing major improvements. So That kind of was more of the nature of those projects. This one would just be to bring the overhead wires underground. And because it's considered beautification, there are other costs like in permitting and easements for going under the river. So it really is, it ends up being more expensive for our funding because that's, it's a project that we're doing by choice, not by necessity. So, and that's not a statement in either direction of whether we should or should not do it. I'm ready to go with any direction that you choose, so.
No, our other undergrounding projects weren't underwater. This is the only one that's
Yes,
under the river.
under a river.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I'm just thinking, maybe we should have a work session about this so we can kind of iron out our thinking. Or not. I'd rather just throw stuff out and see if it sticks.
Can it be incorporated in some of our work sessions?
We can.
And just out of curiosity, and what would accomplish there? What would you have, not that I'm against it, but what would you hope? Just more talk? Because you can't make a decision there. A poll?
Maybe just a more, that we might be able to come to more of a direction as a group and as individuals towards something. Is it all above ground or not? Is it a pipe or is it undergrounding or is it a restroom? I mean, we're all over the map right now, and I just think it might just be helpful to talk things out and with some costs for, you know, we can see where we are with that $3.5 million.
Madam Chair. So we have this deadline to decide something on, to be able to loan the money out so that urban renewal continues operating, correct? And that's the
But
purpose of
it's-
the decision.
Yes, but there's actually, the deadline that we have given you is an artificial deadline. There is a hard deadline, which the bond is due June 30th, 2018. We have the opportunity to pay it off early and save the interest on that, so we have put together that deadline.
Great. This $3.5 million would take us how long, or what is the time frame that our next decision would be? So we spend this $3 million, the $3.5 million. When is it the next time we can do other things with the urban renewal? Or this is the end of this 27-year urban renewal, and that if we continue to do something else for blight, we will have to recreate something similar with another set of money that we will get from where?
Yes, what you just described, this is the last bond issuance we would do, so that,
Period.
period.
Unless we create another organization.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Urban Renewal Agency will still exist. There are assets, there's land, there are 2 buildings that will remain urban renewal assets unless something changes otherwise. But, so we just won't have any money to fund any projects unless we sold a property or, you know, there are, we could ask for grant funding. I don't think that, you know, urban renewal is kind of set up to be funding projects that would not be done otherwise. And so I think that's why we've had trouble with getting ODOT grants. When we were talking about several $1 million in Taft or Ocean Lake, for example, ODOT was ready to participate. They knew there were highway improvements needed as well. But at this point, and that was kind of a different era as well of funding. So this is the last bond.
And there's another future topic that will bring before you will be the creation of a new district or districts.
So I guess do we want one big bang, or do we want a lot of many things to be able to have happen, essentially? Do we want one last, or do we want many?
Right. And really for staff, the big decision is whether or not you're interested in doing the D-Lake undergrounding, because there are extensive permitting processes that we need to go through for getting under the river. We have all of our easements except for one from the private sector. But we would need to go in front of the State Lands Commission in order to get a permanent easement. So that takes time. We can wait and build the project anytime, but ideally, we'd like to have it ready and permitted and bid to construct in November. And that's to avoid any impacts to the private businesses that are there. So we can do that in any year of November, but it just depends on what your priorities are and if that's a project you want to move forward.
Madam Chair. So out of these 85 projects, the major ones are urban renewal that we're focusing on, and as Councilor Anderson mentioned, some of them will be covered by Public Works or other entities. I mean, these are all important, but I see high, low, medium. If we are interested in something not as big and splashy, but more local, can we be assured that these will be addressed in other, other areas of the city governance?
But the answer to that is maybe. Again, it'll become a budget question that the city council will have to take upon itself, and that is that particularly the sewer line projects, urban renewal has been a great tool for us to accomplish many of the sewer projects that we would not have been able to do otherwise. As the city council, when you're acting as the city council goes forward, you're going to have to address those and say, we want to do these, and we will come up with the money this way in order to accomplish them. So the answer is maybe, but not necessarily.
Thank you very much. I think we'll all have 2 or 4 weeks to ponder our priorities. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, not to belabor it, but 2 to 4 weeks. So the assignment, can I put words in your mouth and say the assignment of each of us is to firmly spend $3.5 million with your projects and have a list of $3.5 million, how you'd spend it?
Well said.
Would that be
Yeah,
so that we can make a decision
right, okay.
and move on?
Of urban renewal worthy projects,
Right.
yeah.
And what if there's something that we want that's not on the list? How do we determine a price for that?
Well, it depends on if it's eligible for urban renewal funds first.
Oh, we can
but-
do that, yeah. We know what the rules are there.
Yeah.
So we would have to kind of invent an estimate or something.
If
Everything
it's,
else
I
has a
think
price
staff
on it,
might
then
be
I'm
able to
with you.
help you with that, yeah.
if there's something on there that you need a price, let us know. We may be able to put something together. We may not in the time frame we're talking about, but we can at least give it a shot.
Yeah.
And, Madam, did I have it right as far as that there's a lot of things on this list that are certainly nice and appropriate for a community, but, even as weighted, medium, low, high, do they press the line as far as original purpose of urban renewal?
Everything on this, all 85 items listed can meet the test for urban renewal. If I was sitting in your seats, what I would probably start with is which ones do I not want to do? So, for example, if undergrounding was not something I was interested in, then I can knock off about 4 or 5 projects. If underground utilities was something I was not interested in, then I can knock off a lot of projects. I would probably start by looking at the categories of what it is that you want to accomplish. So, for example, if you want to say, as Madam Chair has said, I want it to be visible, well, then you're going to be able to steer yourself into some categories. So, again, if I was in your seats, what I'd be looking at is how do I narrow it by broad description. If I was looking specifically at an economic development, then I would know where that would go.
But if I can, Madam Chair, I hate to debate this, but again, I'm concerned that if in fact this agency is going to look at another district, another one, you're going to go back to the same taxing districts that you held in abeyance, who willingly gave up their growth in anticipation of higher returns. And if I were one of those, matter of fact, I am, a health district, I'm going to be a little bit concerned about, what you do with your funds. And I'm going to run it through my test, and if I'm the school board or anybody else, did that really increase, taxes, assessments, more than my given 3%. So as you're making your list, I would ask you to get in the shoes of the fire department, the school district, the county, all the other taxing districts that held off receiving funds above a certain level, for the last 27 years. Because you're going to ask them again to supposedly do it again. And how good were you at being the steward, or did you just take for public community good?
I have a question. The formation of an urban renewal district goes to the voters, correct?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't, okay. Thank you.
We have lots of process before it can be approved, but yes, it does not need to be voter approved.
Allison, are you, do we have to have 100% sign-on for us to have the urban renewal district?
That's a good question. I don't know if it has to be unanimous or a majority. I can find out on that.
I thought you might know.
Thank you. We have one more item on the agenda, and it's 6:05, so. The agenda item is actions, if any, based on executive session. Does anyone have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd move to direct staff to pursue the transfer of appropriate URA properties to the city.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Been moved and seconded to ask staff to pursue transfer of urban renewal properties to the city of Lincoln City. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I think we skipped discussion there.
Okay, excuse me.
My question is, will the public be made included in this discussion about what it is that we're transferring? Will it be made aware?
We'll come back to you with the details.
All right, okay.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Any other motions? There was one other item, a couple of properties that we discussed. Is there a motion about that?
What would that motion be?
If you're not ready to do it today, you can always wait to the next URA meeting. We can have another executive session on that subject.
That would be my wish, yeah.
Okay. Any other comments from agency members? Any business for the agency to address? Hearing none, meeting's adjourned.
It'll give you